Welcome to the second part of adding text to MicroStation. So in this one, I will create a complete table. So this would means text and lines to make it a proper table. So my example I'm going to use it is this one here. So I'm going to unhide what is hidden. So now we have about 8 rows and 4 columns. So I'm going to try to create a code that's going to be dynamic. So even if I increase the number of rows, it will adapt as well, and it will expand depending on what the number is. So this is slightly more advanced, so pay attention, and I'm going to try to again keep it simple and show you step by step. So I will pick up where I left off from the first part, and in part 1, if you haven't seen it, we went through how to create a simple version of text to MicroStation. And this one we added 6 lines, and each line is a different row. But this is not easy to do if you're working with big numbers, let's say like 100 rows, and this is not really practical. So for that matter, then I'm gonna do it differently. So I'm gonna change this slightly. So I'm gonna put table. So this is gonna create a good table which is gonna bring this information to MicroStation nicely, and it's quick and it happens under a second. You click and it's there. So to start with here, let's see what we have and what. So first of all, rather than doing one for every row, I'm going to do one and keep it on loop so it always repeats and goes again and again. So I'll change it slightly. So I might need to add a few because I'm going to add line as well. So I'm going to add I'm going to define line as well somewhere here maybe. And also I need the start and the end of the line. So line st is the beginning of the line, and line en is the end of the line. So now it seems like we have defined all of our variables. Now it's part for us to put in the code. So I will make each column dynamic so it can grow longer if needed. So I'm gonna do the coding by column. So to do this, I'm gonna define this as column A. So to create a loop, we're gonna use a for loop. So for loop is gonna be going through the code over and over again until it completes all of the rows. So to do for loop, I'm gonna add a few lines here. So I have defined C as range. So it'll go through the range of in the column and then count like how many we have. So I'll say for each C in range cells. So this is going to be looking at first column. To the last row. So because here's going to count the last row, which is called LR. So I'm going to put the last row here in again the first column. Okay, so need to add one more. Good. So this one is gonna look through the top here to the last row. So rather than giving it a specific number, again this has to be dynamic. So I'm gonna just say use this function here, which is gonna count what is the last row number is. So it will know. So here what's happening. So that is at the row. That's the column. So this is gonna look from the top row in top column up to the last row in the first column. So once it knows that, then we need to do some few changes here. So this is gonna look into only one cell, which is that. Now I want this to look at the entire range, like entire column, so that have to change slightly. I'm just gonna for now just delete that. So what we have to do, I'm gonna change here. So the range, I'm gonna say now you can put, for example, just to show you, A1 to A100, and that can work, but I want to keep this really dynamic so it can go even beyond that. So rather than putting A100, I'm gonna put A and last row. Okay, so this is gonna start from A1, which is here, up to the last row, whatever that number is. So that's fine, and that is gonna read everything just as fine. But also in terms of because I'm gonna add line as well, so I don't want this to come straight at the corner. So let me first close this and then show you what I mean. So by putting next, it means once it finishes the first row, it goes to the next and next and next. So if I do it now, let's see how that looks like. So there's some problem here, but let's see. Okay, so it seems like there's some few problem in the code. Let me go back and fix them. Okay, I found it. I need to add something here. I didn't decide in which column this to read, so I'm gonna have to add one thing here. Cells, and then define that. Okay, so this is gonna look now the follow-up here is gonna go through a range of each row, and this is to say go up to so because it's gonna loop, so it's gonna be number of rows, so number of row in first column, and then so that could be 1. So let's say for example and then it moved to 2, 3 and 4, so the number of rows gonna change. So that is what is that all about. So this is going to pick up the number of rows in the first column here. Okay, so this is the part for the loop. So if we try now, that has worked. Then now see here, they all stack up together like that, so this is not really good. We have to do something about spacing this up, and also I don't want them to be exactly at the edge because I'm going to add a line here, so I need to create a space slightly. So I like to keep space of about the text width, for example. So if I come here, I'll put that as this is the x here, put 0.25. Now the main issue here is the y, how you're gonna control the y in a dynamic fashion. So this is gonna, now when I put 6 here, that was based on 6 number of rows, but in our case number of rows is gonna change, so we need to change this slightly. So let me see. So I'm gonna say, okay, take the text gap here. So whatever the text gap is, you subtract the number of the rows. So I'm gonna put minus c dot row, and then let's see first what that gives us. Okay, so at least the spacing going down is fine. I like them to go up, so I want that to be the bottom of the yeah, of the text. So I'm gonna change it slightly. So I'll say times that, and let me see. Okay, so now the gap is perfect. but I wanted that now. I wanted that to be exactly sitting just down there. So let me see what I can do. That seems okay. Let me try to change this number here. And sometimes could be just a small change. Perfect. So this is what I wanted. I wanted that the bottom of the table to be exactly where the 00 is. So because I'm gonna create my line from here, something like that. Okay. Yeah. So this is fine. So there's good gap between the text and the line there. So this is fine. So now we have that, and it means now we can replicate this for another column. So but just to test if this is really uh, dynamic, so I'm gonna add, well actually I'm gonna first delete them. Let me just move them here, move them somewhere there, for example, just for now. Okay, now we have 7 rows. Okay, now let's see how that's gonna be like. You can see it came exactly where it's supposed to be, so it always gonna start from here up to there. So that is very dynamic, and it did a lot for only one line. And if I put this back, let me delete that and let's try again. Then you see again it's slightly, and this is only quick and it stops slightly there. So now we can be sure that now our VBA is dynamic. So now we have to do this for column. Now we have, I believe, 4 columns here. We have A, B, C, and D. So let's do the same thing now for other columns. So I'm gonna just copy the same line here, maybe more. So I need up to here because I want to also add the heading as well. I'll say B. Yeah. So you have to change only one thing. Now, as you know, this is gonna look at column 1. This is number of rows in column 1. Now I want the same number of rows in column 2, and here in column 3, and here in column 4. Okay, so that is straightforward. So now let's try that, and it did work, but they're all stuck in the same line. So it seems like we might have to move the y's of the other columns as well. So to do that, this is going to be easy job. So the first one stays the same, and the second one I'm going to move into x direction. I will say by 4 meters, for example, and I'll put that one, I'll put a 7 there, and the last one I'm gonna say maybe 10. Let's try that, and perfect. So see, it can do that in less than a second, very quick, super fast, and is dynamic. You can have a table here, maybe even twice the size, and rather than you copying and typing and doing some mistakes, you just and it's there, it's done. So this is very good and it's very quick, but we need to make it tidy. So we need to add lines around. So to add a line, first of all, I'm gonna add. So I'm gonna use this last column because it's gonna repeat. So I'm gonna add line at every line. Sorry, yeah, add a line at every row. So for example, this is gonna go through that row here and gonna add a line under and there, then line under. So I'm gonna add the line into this one here. So we cover this into our last session. So in this one I'm gonna, let's add like a title somewhere so it is obvious. So I'm gonna say Okay, so all you need is the line start and the line end. So I'm gonna put line, then it needs the X here, so that be a 0 because I want to start from 0, and then the end of the line, it will be, now let me just copy this one here. So we have the Y and the Z. So now the last Z will be 0, but so this it will be that text gap. So text gap, we said text gap, and then now it's gonna be the same as this one here. Okay, so the text gap, so I will gonna use that, and this hopefully is gonna give us just that. So text gap times 0.5, then minus, now because I want the line to be slightly under. Now if I leave it here, for example, if I show you how it's gonna look like, let me try now and see what we have. I'm missing one line of adding text, so I need the text start and text end. So let me just do that. So st is the start, and we have an ending which is en. Now because our text is stops at 10, so I'm going to make my line slightly longer, so maybe 12, 12.5 I'm going to say. Okay, now yes, now you're going to add a line now to create something like this, which is set my text, but this would be set my line, it would be set. So I'm going to copy from, just copy from there, and then dot create line element, and then we want you want from the line start and the line end. Okay, and then you want a second bit here. So this is going to draw a line, and let's see how this looks like now. Okay, there's something here. It needs a gap. That's fine. That seems okay. And okay, that seems to work. But I want this to be in the loop, so I'm gonna copy this, actually cut it and put it inside the loop. Okay, so it seems to be just drawing one line. Let me see what is happening there. So it is in the loop, but it's supposed to repeat as well. It doesn't seem to do that. Okay, so I didn't actually add the bit for the number of rows, so I was supposed to copy exactly this one here. I think mine is slightly different, so I'm gonna change that now, and let's give it a go. Okay, so we have something that actually it is working, but as I say, I want that to be slightly under the text. I don't want it to be just like that, so I'm gonna bring it slightly lower. So I'm gonna minus just half of the text size. And let's see how that looks like. So this is gonna go through each row and add the line under, so it's gonna repeat. Now this is gonna change depending on the number of rows. So for example, if I am to, let's say, add more here, for example, this is gonna again adapt and add more rows accordingly. So if I just do that, then go back, we'll see, so it is super fast and it's perfect. So now we need to do more. We need to add the top line. So because it is only single line, now I'm not going to add this in the loop. I'm going to put this separately. So I'm going to put it somewhere here, because everything from 4 to next is gonna loop and go around over and over again. So this is gonna be a separate one, so I'm gonna add it somewhere here. And this one is gonna be I'm gonna copy this one because it is the same code more or less, and make some few changes. So I'm gonna call it create a top line. Now the only difference is I'm gonna use the text gap, so I'm gonna just use that and see how that looks like. Because the text gap, it is also gonna count the number of rows and multiply by a factor, so that's always gonna grow and go up or down. So if I try now and see, it covers from top to bottom. Perfect. So we need a line on the left and line on the right. I'm gonna keep the bits in between just like that. And if you want to add more line, you just copy the same code and then you can just add it there. So now to add a line on this side, I'll put this in the loop. So because I want that to be based on since it's gonna create a bottom line here, then it's good then also to add the side lines as well. So I'm gonna add the two parts here. Now to save time, I'm gonna copy and paste from my sample code that I have. So we have a right, and I believe this is the left line. So it is just the same. I kept x as 0 and x as 0, and I used that value from the previous table that we had, which is that one there. So this is for the end of that line, like based on the text. So this is like the bottom of the line, and this is, so it's going to take the same value, it's going to add up the size of the text. So to close, so it's going to draw a line on the right, and this is the line on the left. So now if you run the code now, it's going to create a complete very nice table. I just need to fix there. I don't like why that is doing that, so I need to adjust that now to find where that one is. Let me try again and see which one is doing that. So okay, so I might have to move then that line to the end, or that line. So I think it's easier if I just move that to the end. Yeah, so I'll see what that says in terms of y and make them to match. So that was on the x side, so we can see here x we have 12.25, there we have 12.5, so I'm going to change that to 12.25 as well. I think that should close it. And also I think I have one more there, 12.25. so if I run now, that should look nice and neat. And yeah, there we have it. Very nice and clean table. It's dynamic, so it can adapt if the number of rows increase or decrease. You'll always have you can very quickly draw a table within a second and it will be there. So if I try now, for example, if I run it, you go there, it's already there, you know, super quick. And if I add more information on the table, for example, if I make it bigger, let's say up to, I don't know, 50, for example, 53, and let me clear that. If I do play, within a second, everything is there. Okay, now yes, you have to put hard work on creating the macro, but once it's there, you can use it over and over and over again, and it will be very quick you to create table from Excel. Now there's one more thing to do, and I always like to create a button here so it's easy for someone to use. rather than going inside the code. So I'm going to add that one there. Then I'm going to select the name of the code and maybe rename. Okay, and now I will close the code and see if this works. So I'm going to close that and close that, and then let's clear that here. And then if we do now, and it's done. So just in case if you doubt it, I will make this smaller and see how super awesome, how super cool this is. Yeah, now imagine you are doing this every day, you are updating tables and you have to copy and paste. Now you just do that and you can sit and relax. Thank you very much.